Hi. Hi, babe. Hi. You should look at the camera and just laugh and then look away. Now we're going to go through, I guess, just the front covers and maybe a few page flips here and there of the zines, the literary journals, and the poetry collections that I managed to get at the book festival. I'm really excited to share these with you. I don't know very much about the artists, the writers, the poets, the editors, you name it. I don't know a great deal, and that was actually basically my mission for going to the book festival in the first place. Unfortunately, what I did not want to get, at least this time around, since I found out that Word on the Street is something that's produced every single year, or at least put on every single year. So next time I wouldn't mind then going for more novels and things, but this time around I just wanted to get copious amounts of what I call shorter fiction, shorter literature, so that I could just delve in and learn and analyze, I guess you could say. But anyway, let's go into my haul of sorts. Inside that paper bag that I got as a mystery bag, which only cost me like $5, which I bought from the Broken Pencil booth, I had no idea what was going to be inside. I thought $5 is a really great deal, and if I get a free magazine from Broken Pencil, which I believe only comes out 4 times a year, I think they bring out 4 issues a year. So this is from Winter 2020. Winter 2020? That sounded very strange for a second there. So Winter 2020, that was inside the mystery bag. And then I got a bunch of zines, which was really cool. So the zines come in all different shapes and sizes. And the zines were from all different kind of genres, from poetry to art to photography collections to poetry, you name it. There was just different types of prose and fiction and art that was available. So as you can see, these are 2 very different sized zines that were available. And the designs on the covers were just so nice. It was actually really nice. I was like, wow, these are so nicely produced and well, like wonderfully printed. So it kind of gave me a little bit of an inspirational kick, I guess you could say. My poetry collection that I came out with a couple of years ago, which I don't really talk about because I'm quite embarrassed by it. I really should just pull it down from Amazon and like change it and format it and change it up and then update it and then put it up as like a second edition or whatever. Was actually intentionally supposed to be a zine. It was supposed to be a zine, and it didn't quite work out that way. It just fell apart, which is why I don't really discuss it or talk about it or discuss my poetry very much either. But seeing how other people have produced and put together zines, it's kind of given me that little bit of a kick, I guess you could say. So once I start reading through them, I don't know what I'm going to learn. I don't know what I'm going to be able to analyze, what I'm going to see from what all of the writers and the poets and the artists have managed to put together. But one thing is for sure, it's going to, I guess, push me into the right creative direction to get a few more creative zines of my own out there eventually. That is the hope, but I don't know, we'll see. I can't tell the future, so we'll just have to see. One of the other booths that happened to be there was from the Immigrant Writers Association. As an immigrant myself, I was really intrigued to find out a bit more about their company. So I managed to pick up both a business card and a little postcard. I have their website loaded up, I just need to read through it. I didn't get to buy any of their fiction works because, like I said, my mission was to get literary journals, poetry books, and zines. So I didn't get any sort of like fiction, works of fiction or works of non-fiction this time around. But hopefully if they're around for next year, I will definitely like to see what other new stuff they come out with. But between now and then, I've already been eyeing up a few of the titles. So hopefully I can get my hands on something. I did manage to get quite a bit of poetry, most of which I haven't decided who I'm going to read first or what I'm going to read first, because I want to read each book slowly, try and read them all at roughly the same time, so that I can get different voices, get their own experiences of how they have experienced life and various subject matters that they happen to go through, that they're trying to express through their form of poetry. At the same time, I've got a very analytical mind, so I want to also take the time to analyze each poem so that I can understand if there's any different sort of ways of approaching the text, not just from a theoretical or a structural point of view, but also from a cultural point of view. Most of the people who are in this collection of poetry books that I managed to get, of which there are quite a few, which looks like that, not everybody is your typical Canadian in that sense. They're mostly going to be people of color, or they're indigenous, etc., etc. So I thought it was really important to highlight those particular voices and spend time with each of those voices. And obviously as time goes by, I will research a bit more about each of the poets and the writers, especially one particular poet who was highly recommended to me. I'll show you in just a moment. So I'm really excited to jump into the unknown and see what I managed to discover and find. Two of the first poetry collections I picked up, You Still Look the Same by Farzana Doctor, published by Freehand Books. So that's the cover. I like. And the other, My Grief the Sun by Sanna Wani. I'm so sorry if I've butchered both of their names. I should have researched beforehand, but I guess I'm just so excited about wanting to delve into these particular collections. They were highly touted. When I was asking one of the people at the booths that I'd gone to about what they would recommend as something for me as an outsider, a newbie, someone who has absolutely no idea or understanding of Canadian poetry or Canadian literature yet, what they would highly recommend, these were the two books that were highly recommended. So I was really happy to pick them up. The funny thing as well, which created a bit of anxiety, was the fact that the author or the poet of this particular book by Sanna Wani, she was actually there for the entire weekend. So I was told, yeah, if you see her, she's really great. You should just go over and like ask her to sign the book and like have a conversation with her. So I started freaking out, and upon getting these two books, I immediately put the other book in front because I did not want her to bump into me. I have such intense social anxiety when someone says, oh, go and meet this person. If I'm not in control of that whole situation, it's not happening. So even though I was really excited and really chuffed, really happy about getting my first two poetry collections, literally within like a few minutes of arriving at the book festival, I immediately started feeling very anxious, and I was very aware of, not only did I not know what the poet looked like, I really didn't want them to approach me. I would have been terrified. So yeah, I was really happy that I got these particular books. I'm really glad that I now have them at home, so I will be taking my time reading these and seeing what I can learn from both of them. As we continue to work our way around the booths, most of which had like novels and things, which was really nice. But again, my mission was to focus on 3 particular genres of literature. I did come across 2 booths that were kind of closely put together, and one of these particular booths was Brick Books. From what I understand, Brick Books is not only a publishing house, but they also happen to have their own store out in London, Ontario, and they also had their own tote bags. So at some point, if I'm able to get my way out to London, Ontario, because a lot of people I've bumped into during my time here, a lot of people have said, oh, you should go and visit, and then that would be hilarious because you're from London in England and this is supposed to be the copy, but it didn't quite work out. So I was like, oh, I've been intrigued. I've been intrigued about wanting to visit London, Ontario for a very long time, and knowing that Brick Books actually happen to have a store there, that's even more of an incentive to go along and visit. Besides picking up books on poetry, I did get 3 postcards. They were free. And on the back of each of these postcards, you've got an excerpt of a poem. Don't know how well you're gonna be able to see that. Hopefully you can see that. So I was like, these are free, they're postcards. My intention was to write the addresses of family and then ship them out to back home so that my family could sort of see some of the literature that I was getting into. But they look so nice that I think I'm just gonna keep them for myself. My family can just see them in photos. They just look really nice. I just like really nice postcards, and I thought maybe I could probably get them framed and put them up in my office area. Who knows? We'll see. But one of the poems on here is the cover of one of the collections written by Louise Halfe, also known as Sky Dancer. She's an Indigenous poet who speaks Cree, and I've only seen a few of her videos since getting home and since getting this postcard as well as this particular book, which were highly recommended. The lady at the store was extremely helpful, and she had like the kindest eyes. Like, me and my husband both walked away like, wow, she has really kind eyes. But this is one of those like gold mine books to me, because while I was going there with the intention of trying to find more Canadian literature, get to know what kind of publishing houses are available in Canada as well as in Ontario, one of my gold mine needs and I guess obsessions for that day was to come home with at least one book written by an Indigenous author or an Indigenous poet. If I could find multiple, that would be absolutely fantastic. But this was definitely one of them. Louise Halfe, also known as Sky Dancer, is also the poet laureate at the moment. So I was really, really intrigued to find out more about who she is, more about her work, and this is one of the best ways to do that for myself. So I managed to get a hold of one of her books. I know that Brick Books also has a few others by her as well. So my intention is, once I've worked through this one, to go straight onto her next ones. I don't think I'll be able to wait that long, so I'm probably gonna get them way before I finish this one. But it's kept me feeling very excited and also very intrigued. I have no idea what I'm going to learn. I'm sure there's going to be lots of language differences as well. So I'm going to be quite focused and quite adamant about trying to understand a bit more about Cree, understand more about Cree history and stuff. So yeah, I'm just really happy that I managed to get this book. This one was actually highly recommended, so I'm glad that I have it. And it's quite a chunky book too. So I think I'm going to have quite a bit of fun with this one. The other book that I was also highly recommended was Auto War by Assiyah, Jamilla, Touré. On the back here, it says, a visceral, vital, unblinking debut collection of poems exploring the kinesthetic, memory, longing, inherited violence, and the body as a geographical site. So it's basically a poetry collection about how one experiences and deals with trauma. And when the lady I asked to sort of like, because I got there and I was like, when I got to the booth, I basically just said to the lady, like, just show me like a couple of books that you would highly recommend, because I don't know anyone, I don't know anything about Canadian poetry or anything, so I just want to dive in blind. So that's why she highly recommended these 2 books at first. But she was like, not even halfway through her sentence about this book, all I had was the word trauma, and I was like, okay, trauma and creativity put together usually create something pretty amazing. So I was like, yep, I definitely want to check out this book and see what this particular poet has to say about her own trauma and how she deals with it through the cathartic use of poetic language. So I needed to get my hands on this particular book. As I was turning slightly over to the right side, I noticed that at the other end of the booth, there was like a couple of boxes that were kind of stacked up, and they had like these piles of bound poetry collections that were all wrapped in like this really nice hemp. all completely random. And I was like, well, there's 3 in that collection, so why don't I just buy one of the collections that was there? I was a little overwhelmed. I wasn't entirely sure what to go for because, again, I don't know who any of these poets are. I know nothing about these collections. So again, I asked the lady to help me out again, and I was like, just pick a pile, I will buy it. So she picked this one, and the price actually was quite shocking. For 3 poetry collections published by their publishing house, this was $10. So not only did I get this for $10, I got these 2 together for like 20 or something bucks, plus a bunch of free postcards. This pile was getting bigger and bigger and bigger as I was going around, and my hands were getting a little heavy. So I knew at that point I needed to find a stall that had any or one of or some kind of tote bag available so that I could also put them all into a tote bag and take them home with me as like a little memory, little souvenir from being at Word on the Street in Toronto 2022. So that's what I did. I kept going around, and did I find a booth? Not right away. I kept going, kept walking. As far as magazines, quarterlies, literary journals and such like are concerned, there were 2 companies that I wanted to focus on and hoped that I was going to be able to try and get at least 1 issue from both stalls. They were Arc Poetry magazine, which I'd never heard of before. It is Canadian owned, Canadian founded, Canadian run. I'd never heard of it before. Again, that would have allowed me to get into different voices within the world of poetry, especially within the world of Canadian literature. So I was really excited about doing that. So when I found their particular booth, I was really sad to find out that I'd gotten there too late. All of the most current issues that they had available for this season had already sold out. So again, I asked the 2 gentlemen who were there if they were kind enough to point me in the right direction of one of the quarterlies that they would highly recommend. And I was highly recommended this one, which is centering on Caribbean voices. I myself, being Caribbean and also of the diaspora and also being an immigrant to Canada, I thought this was very fitting for me. And the other booth that I managed to get to was run by the New Quarterly. This is another quarterly magazine that I'd never heard of. They're Canadian founded, Canadian run, and they produce in their magazine nonfiction, fiction, poetry. They share art, photography, you name it. It's a lot like Granta magazine in that sense, and a lot like the other literary magazines that I like to pick up as well. I just find them really interesting and very intriguing. The New Quarterly more so because I spent a bit more time on their website researching them, understanding a little bit about their founding and their history. So I was very excited and very intrigued to find out more about them once I was able to find their booth at the book festival. While at their booth, again, I was pretty late. I was unfortunately not able to get a hold of their most current issue. However, they did have lots of previous issues available, and there was a small deal on, I think it was like 3 issues for $15, I think. So I picked up these ones. Again, I asked the person who was serving me to pick out the top 3 that they would highly recommend, and this is what was picked out for me. So issue 152 is Taking Your Chances. There's a little bit about them on the front there. I really like this artwork as well. I don't know what this particular theme is going to be about or what it's going to be exploring, but I'm very excited to find out. The next one is What Lies Ahead. This is issue 158. And the next was issue 161, Constant Disruption of Patterns. And I don't know what it is, but I really like that painting on the front. I think it's really cool. So yeah, this is just an entire pile of magazines and poetry collections I was very successful in getting. I was very, very, very happy with what I got. And I cannot wait to go back to Word of the Street next year just to see what else is going on. Probably next year, I would probably look for more fiction and non-fiction, so much longer form texts if I can. But again, if I happen to find more poetry, because I just love poetry, I'm probably gonna always have a little space in my tote bag for more poetry. speaking of tote bags, one of my goals, besides getting all of this literature, was to get a tote bag for that day. I thought it would be kind of handy to just kind of show up without a bag. I ended up carrying one of my everyday belt bags instead. But I knew I wanted to get a tote bag. Of course, because it's Sod's Law, I didn't find a tote bag until right at the very end of the route that my husband and I decided to take. And that was purely because of one thing: literary journals. So like I said, I love literary journals, and there was a booth being held by Brick that I was really excited about getting to. The reason being is because when I subscribed to Brick about a month or two ago, I got really excited because one of the ways that they lured me in, I'm very easy to advertise to, was they were like, oh, subscribe to the magazine and then you'll get these free stickers. So I was like, wow, stickers, woo, I can put those all over my journal, it'd be really great, you name it, I'm subscribing. So having collected 2 of their journals already, I was able to get these stickers. However, and I kid you not, less than 30 seconds after I finished subscribing to this magazine, I then went straight to a different app, because obviously the algorithm tends to follow you through the metaverse. And then I noticed that they were luring people in again with the same stickers, but also a tote bag. I was so mad at myself. I was like, damn it, why didn't I just wait a day? Because if I'd known, I would have just subscribed so I could get both the stickers and the tote bag as well as the magazine. Like, this tote bag is really cool. Like, it's cool, and I really wanted it, and it's really thick, actually. It's quite nice. I think I could probably throw my laptop into that quite easily when I go to any coffee shops or anything and just kind of wear it. It's actually kind of nice. It's nice and thick, so I'm just gonna waterproof it, I think, in some way. But yeah, I really like this tote bag. I thought it was really cool. So yeah, I was really happy that they had a few left. I was able to obviously grab one and then put all of my collections and everything into this particular tote bag. And then the very last thing I think I picked up was that mystery bag from the Broken Pencil booth, which was right opposite from the Brick. So all in all, that whole day was actually a lot of fun. The rain didn't come down like I expected it to, but I was so happy with everything that had happened. And it's really nice because the area that we went to, I had never been there before. Apparently I have, but I don't remember it at all. And I now know that the ROM is not far. So at some point, I'll be able to go back and visit and actually go into the ROM and also the Gardner Museum, because I'm dying to visit both places. So yeah, it was just a really great day to get out and do something in the city, like a tiny little bit of sightseeing, but it was a lot for me. And then by the time I got home, I was pretty much dead, which is why I didn't end up doing like the whole video on the day. So yeah, it was a really great day. I really enjoyed myself, and I'm really looking forward to what they're going to be doing for next year. That was my first ever book festival, so I was very, very, very happy. So yeah, thanks for watching if you've made it this far. I hope that intrigued you somewhat about book festivals in your local area. I would highly recommend definitely going to check them out. And if you happen to be an immigrant like me, definitely go and check out book festivals or movie festivals or any kind of festivals where lots of people and businesses come together to sort of share their wares. It's great because you're doing something for the local community, as well as getting out and just seeing something and experiencing new things. And that's something that I have really taken away from this. So I really enjoyed myself. It made me feel that little bit closer to the city, I guess, because as an immigrant, even though I'm now officially inside the bubble, now that I've got PR and everything, I still don't feel as connected as I would like to. So it's still an experience. It's still some kind of ordeal that I'm still going through as an immigrant. But books, literature, works of art are gonna definitely help me through that whole transitional process. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you all again in a month or two. Bye.